Bienvenidos a este evento organizado por Química y BASF. Yo voy a partir, como es tradicional en nuestro sector de la industria química, también por supuesto en BASF, con un momento de seguridad que tiene que ver básicamente con las condiciones y consideraciones generales que tenemos que respetar en este salón. Está prohibido fumar o encender fuego. Las vías de evacuación están en la parte trasera, en ambos costados, que fue por donde ustedes ingresaron. Se pueden identificar las salidas, que son bastante evidentes, pero están marcadas como salida de emergencia. En caso de sismo, mantener la calma. Por supuesto, comenzar a moverse una vez que haya terminado el evento, si es que así fuera. Y si procede a evacuar, hay que hacerlo con calma y hacia la zona de seguridad del edificio que está en el área verde, exactamente enfrente del salón. Esa es un poco para que reconozcan el área. Y habiendo hecho este pequeño minuto de seguridad, agradecemos de nuevo la asistencia y nos voy a dejar con la bienvenida del presidente de SEQUIM, señor José Antonio León.
Muy buenos días a todos, estimados gerentes y representantes de empresas socias de SEQUIM, así como representantes de empresas invitadas a este evento. Amigos y amigas, solo quiero dar una breve palabra de bienvenida y agradecimiento, ya que como asociación estamos muy contentos de ofrecer una conferencia de este nivel, que ha sido denominada Industria 4.0, Transformación Digital de la Química, en la Química, y que fue organizada por BASF y SEQUIM. Esta actividad nace en el directorio, donde detectamos esta idea de conversar un poco más allá de los 60 años que cumplimos ya el año pasado y proyectar un poco hacia el futuro, ojalá otros 60 años, y transmitirle también a nuestros asociados la visión de qué es lo que se nos viene por delante. Esta idea la tomó nuestra directora Claudia Woodfield, que es gerente general de BASF, como ustedes saben, y presidente de BASF West Business Center. Preparó esta conferencia acerca de los desarrollos de la industria química y hacia dónde está la mirada de BASF, una de las compañías, como ustedes saben, más grandes del mundo en este rubro. El primer agradecimiento entonces para Claudia, quien comprometió su tiempo y el de la compañía para poder realizar esta conferencia. Nuestro segundo agradecimiento para nuestro orador hoy día, el doctor Fritz Netzel, espero haberlo pronunciado bien, quien nos relatará un poco la visión que tiene BASF en estos tiempos y respecto al impacto que va a tener este fenómeno de la digitalización de los procesos manufactureros, concepto que se conoce en el mundo como Industria 4.0, industria inteligente, o también muchos han llamado la cuarta revolución industrial. Esperamos que esta sea una excelente oportunidad para todos nuestros asociados y los invitados de poder atender a esta innovadora conferencia. Hoy quiero dejar con ustedes a Claudia. Muchísimas gracias una vez más.
José Antonio, muchas gracias. Muy buenos días, bienvenidos a todos. Estoy muy contenta, estoy orgullosa de que nos hayamos podido reunir el día de hoy para conversar sobre un tema que quizá aún no estemos muy familiarizados, yo por lo menos no lo estoy, y nos puede parecer incluso un poco lejano, pero sin embargo se presenta como un desafío que nos va a impactar a todos en todas las actividades que estamos haciendo, desarrollando, y cada vez tiene mayor relevancia para la industria en general y por supuesto también para la nuestra, la industria química. ¿A qué me refiero? Me refiero con esto a todo lo que tiene que ver con el manejo de datos y el valor que las nuevas tecnologías digitales pueden aportar al desarrollo de nuevos modelos de negocio, mejoras de procesos, servicios, etc. En fin, esto impacta en toda la cadena de valor, en todos los procesos productivos y demás. Por eso hicimos el esfuerzo e invitamos a Chile, a Dr. Fritz Netzel, a compartir la visión y la experiencia de BASF en este tema y lo que fue mencionado por José Antonio, lo que llamamos nosotros internamente la industria 4.0 y cómo esta impacta en el mundo de la química. Fritjof es Senior Vice President, viene de BASF en Alemania y es el líder global del proyecto nuestro llamado BASF 4.0. Y hoy nos va a contar un poco sobre cómo lo que estamos haciendo y cómo BASF entiende y aprovecha el valor de los datos y las nuevas tecnologías para agregar valor a todos sus procesos, sus servicios y al final del día a sus clientes. Agradezco mucho a Fritjof su presencia y por estar dispuesto a compartir con nosotros hoy día, quienes estamos aquí reunidos, que estamos aquí socios de ASIQUIM, todo el directorio de ASIQUIM está presente, muchas gracias por eso también, clientes de BASF y también algunos invitados especiales, por ejemplo, de la CAMCHAL o de Transoceánica. También un agradecimiento especial a Transoceánica, a Christoph Schiess, quien nos prestó su lindísimo auditorio el día de hoy para este evento. Fritjof, also to you a few words in English. Thank you very, very much for being here today with us. It's a pleasure, it's an honor. I think you are sharing today a topic that might not be very familiar to us as the chemical industry here in the country, but it's very much relevant and appreciated that you took the time and the effort to come here visit us together with your wife. Thank you very much. Fritjof hablará en inglés, la presentación de él va a ser en inglés, pero nos preocupamos de contar con un sistema de traducción, o sea, todos que necesiten poder usar la traducción simultánea al español. Después de su presentación vamos a abrir también aquí para que ustedes puedan hacer sus preguntas y siéntense cómodos en hacer las preguntas en español. Vamos a contar con la traducción también para Fritjof, para que él pueda entender y dar la respuesta en inglés. ¿Ya? Y para comenzar, antes de que suba Fritjof al escenario, los voy a invitar, o quiero invitar a ver un pequeño video que nos introducirá un poco al tema de hoy. Muchas gracias.
Data, even if you can't see it, it is all around you. It's there from the moment you wake up. It keeps you fit. It helps you remember. The world has changed and has become more connected, smarter. The way we buy, sell, travel, eat, sleep, and work. Technology will continue to change our lives. Connectivity is transforming society, our businesses. At BASF, we are on a journey. We have a challenging but exciting route ahead. Agility, iterative improvement, and early customer involvement are key to fully leveraging the power of digital technologies for BASF. We are transforming traditional siloed supply chains into a connected end-to-end system to better serve our customers. Digital technologies help us to further increase the effectiveness and efficiency of our manufacturing processes. With new business models, we are differentiating from competition and driving growth. Using smart data, we are developing new products, creating extra value for customers. We are driving the transformation. Our path is digital. Let's take it together.
BASF, we create chemistry.
Good morning. Dear President of the ASIQUIM, Senor Lapin, recognized directors of the ASIQUIM, and then dear Claudia, and also to the host of this fantastic building, very good morning and thanks very much for having me today and giving me the opportunity to speak about digitalization. Maybe just one quick comment, the safety rundown that you gave. I think it was the most fascinating safety congregation area, very charming place, so I hope we don't have to use it today. But very pleased to be here. And also this is probably the most sustainable and the most fancy stage I've been on so far. So, without further ado, just when you think it's getting boring in chemicals, something comes up. It's a new trend, digitalization. And some people say, wow, is this going to pass us by? Can we just dig a hole, we jump into it, and then we vanish, and somehow it will pass us, and then we don't need it anymore? No. The good news is digitalization is here to last. And it will definitely change a lot of things we do. And it will give for the entire industry and for all the stakeholders and business partners around chemicals, also I would say a new momentum of growth and of efficiencies. First, Claudia made the comment, my new role. I have to disappoint you, I'm not an IT person. I've really always been a user of IT and IS. And I'm also not an engineer. I'm also not a chemist, but I've been with the company for 18 years and there's not been a dull moment in that professional life. So my background is commercial. I've run businesses in many different industries and countries as well. And now I get this fancy title of CDO, so Chief Digital Officer. I have to explain that. And I've run a tribe. So in this case, Chief Digital Officer. This is my team. I have a Vice President of Hype, one that is good for disruption. I have a VP for buzzwords. And then you see, one layer down, we like the hierarchy, there's a Director of Overpromise. And then we still have a job opportunity for anyone who's interested. We have a Manager of Business Results. It's a vacant position. So this is, the things we need to live with in the digital world. We need to explain a bit what we are doing and how it can add value, and that's going to be today my speech. So, BASF is a company that relies still very strongly on one important raw material, and that's oil. I mean, we are doing more and more in biotech as well, and I think the continent South America is playing an increasingly important role in this. I think you're definitely a front runner in this area, but we still take raw material, crude oil, and we crack it into ethylene and propylene and generate a lot of additional value chains from that. With data, it's just the same thing. Data is there, we already have it, but it's only a raw material. And now I think what digitalization is trying to teach us is how can we turn the raw material into a refined product. So nothing at all to be afraid of. It's really just taking something that's already there. How can I then, analyze it, take it, integrate it, and create something with it? And what we did in BASF a bit is we created, almost looks like a Greek temple. We created a building, and this building is fundamentally based on data sharing. And why is that important? I think what you see, just speaking for BASF probably, is a lot of people like to sit on their data. So data can be information, can be experimental data, data can be knowledge about customers, data can be historical material that has led to promising innovations. And people like to build a bit of a fence around it very often because it kind of increases their own value and importance in the company. Our approach when we talk data is when you share data, you grow. Take one example, Apple. Apple was always a bit in a niche. So they had very fancy computers, big screens, high resolution, and they worked with software that was just superb in terms of the design of the desktop publishing and also in educational areas. But Apple was in a, I would call it like a splendid niche position versus the big giants like an IBM or the other OS companies. I think Apple made the leap to become what they are today among the top 2 or 3 market capitalization value companies because they started to open up. So when they built their open architectures around APIs, so the application programming interfaces, which, our son, our daughter, your children, you actually are using it, apps. When they created a population of over 1 million programmers that were not even on Apple's payroll, they started to have a massive success. They're just opening up, and I think we should kind of translate that learning into what we do in our company and become a bit more open. Now you will also say, okay, we still have to keep security and safety integral, and you're right, and I will have a chart with that, but still we need to create a culture in which people are ready to share with their colleagues, and sometimes also, of course, with the business partners like customers, data about what they do, how they do it. An important point is housekeeping of data. That's a tedious one. It's a bit like taking a broom, cleaning your house, cleaning the surfaces, having everything stored in proper drawers. It's a nasty job. But I don't know how you feel about it, and maybe we can discuss it in our question and answer session, but people typically don't handle that very well. They like to use the data, but when it comes to really, keeping it straight, that's a different challenge. Data integration is something where we say we have so many databases. I think we have in excess of 60,000 databases in BASF. In order to use them, we need a common logic. We need a platform upon which you can access these different databases. Some databases are in Excel, some are in Access, some are homegrown. Think of labs, think of production data, maybe some of the Siemens semantic databases are there. So there's lots of different formats the data comes in. So you need something that kind of translates that. We call that the data integration layer. The point on the right is turning the data into value. That's the farming. It's really a bit like taking the data, planting the seed, and then cultivate it, groom it, water it, and harvest it. And I have examples for that. I did bring 4 different use cases for that. In the end, and my boss is the CEO, he has a very strong financial background, Kurt Bock. So I asked him, Kurt, digitalization, can you tell everybody in BASF that this is the top priority? He looks at me and said, top priority, Filter? That's EBIT. That's our results. And I said, okay, we make it a key priority because I still want some commitment here. And then he said, yes, of course, key priority, no worries. And then, in the end, if you take this equation and you say growth being sales, you deduct efficiency, so the costs, in the end, we don't even have an argument. And I think, Kurt, we smiled at this conversation, but that's why we put it very high up on our list. So, what does it take? This is a toolbox. I had a bit of a conversation earlier with some of you in the lobby. Digitalization is not something to be afraid of. We need to demystify it, break it down in components. So part of what we do is we apply tools. It's like you have a job to do in your house, you take the toolbox, you open it, and every job needs a different tool. Cloud computing, that's nothing else but a virtual drive. It's a virtual data drive, and there's 3 top companies who are leading in the technology of cloud computing. One is Amazon Web Services, the other one is Hewlett Packard, the other one is Microsoft. I get the question a lot in BASF, how can we dare to put our data into a cloud? It's unsafe. And then I say, okay, what's your suggestion? Because we need the capabilities of the cloud in order to get the job done that you are after. And then the person says, let's do it ourselves. And I said, okay, it's a bit like we let Microsoft run our chemical plants, right? So, any cloud solution, of course, has to come with the proper architecture. We need the proper security rules. We do vendor audits. We analyze very closely what will be put on the cloud and what type of security mechanisms do we have before we enter this type of engagement. But I'll give you one example. If a team of lab researchers decides they need a cloud today, within 15 minutes from that idea, by making a phone call, by logging on to the system, at BASF today we get a Helion cloud functional. 15 minutes, 1-5. By just determining how much speed do I need, how much processing capability do I need? What type of storage do I need? And then it's done. But of course, previous to setting this up, we went through all these phases and process steps to get that going. Mobile devices. Claudia gave me an inside information. I think Chile is the country with the highest density of mobile phones in the population. And that's great news. Sometimes, at dinner maybe it's not so great news, so we have to introduce some rules. At home as well, being a family of 4, sometimes, the phone is also cool to be a bit mute. But I think it's great news because already today, more than 60% of all the internet access activities run through mobile devices. And if you look like a country like Saudi Arabia, another example there, on average per capita, in Saudi Arabia, 127 gigabytes of data are consumed in a month, just for video streaming. And the advancements in speed and storage, cheaper storage by the way, is enormous. So the next great thing on mobile is also the wireless network. If you think wireless, companies are working on the 5G possibilities, and this will be great news for any plant because you can then replace and reinvest in your plant very easily by avoiding a lot of cable and expensive processes of rewiring. I probably don't have to teach you in terms of chemistry, but I think we cannot risk anything by entering digitalization, so therefore we need the proper safety precautions. The cool thing is, in terms of what we can do is, we can stay a highly innovative industry, because digitalization gives us access now to our customers' customers. And we can learn much more quickly what are the consumer trends, what are the key strategic developments, what are the expectations, and that's really great. When we started with the BASF 4.0, so the digitalization in BASF, that was 2015. We started from the scratch. So we were, in terms of digital maturity, we were not a champion whatsoever. We were really, in this area, a digital novice, so a startup. Now you can ask for a long time, why was the digital hype, only coming to the chemical industry fairly late? I have no really good answer. But maybe it's because it was never bread and butter for us. But now in the meantime, I think the pace has increased and we need to be ready for it. So what we did in 2016 to compare us a bit with some of our customers and business partners, we started an analysis. And if you look at Google, we would call them a digital champion. Why? Google's business is really largely based on data farming. They collect data, they are scaring it close to us. If you're wearing an Android phone, if you're wearing any phone that is somehow connected, you can be sure Google knows where you are, who you are, what are your preferences, what type of news do you read, what type of car do you drive, what are your travel plans, and what is your payment history in some of the major transactions. They know this. And they know this because we gave them basically the approval. Because when you enter their space, there's always the little box. It's like, do you agree with the terms and conditions, after this service? You typically click yes. Or please show up your hands who has read the terms or conditions of WhatsApp. So a few pages to that, nothing major there. Nobody raising the arm? So, because they found a way how to motivate us, to undress and then throw our data at them. That's pretty cool. And Google was challenged in a conference the other day. They were asked, they had the president of Google for Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and they asked the guy, smart, good looking, so what type of company are you? And then he said, I'm a tech company. Google is a tech company. But it was an evil guy in the plenary session, so he continued asking, said, okay, tell me, how do you earn your money? What do you sell? You start technology. So he kept drilling, and the Google guy, went a bit uncomfortable. And then in the end, he had to admit, almost about 100% of their revenue is advertising money. It's advertising money. And then the guy, put the last sword into him, and then he said, okay, you're an ad company. He didn't want to hear this. But, that is one of the problems with the chart. You cannot probably today put all these companies into these verticals anymore. I don't think Google is really an electronics and IT company. They're somewhere, in every one of these industries, because we work and operate with the data. Tesla, would you call Tesla an automotive company? I like the word I heard in another conference as well. So Tesla is software and wheels. Yeah, but they are really cool because they're challenging existing principles of manufacturing cars. So we have nominated Tesla as BASF as a yardstick in our operations. Because I could go to companies who are a bit more advanced maybe than us in production. But I want a company that does it in a totally different way in order to get into the brain and the mindset of our production folks, who typically are very traditional and also very safety concerned. But I have to take the ones that probably are a bit more, curious, and I want to expose them to Tesla. So that's on my list of things to do this year. So, last message on this slide. We can choose not to digitalize, but our customers and suppliers are going to do it anyways. Not much choice. And actually it's fun, so don't be afraid. I spoke about my dialogue with Kurt a bit earlier. So digitalization is a tool to give you more growth, and rough estimations show that about 3% growth just coming from digitalization is possible per year. Seems a lot, but that's kind of what a study done by PricewaterhouseCoopers Strategy and showed and testified basically in 2016. In terms of efficiency, we're even talking a greater value, up to 4% cost reduction on top of what we do anyways in our daily chores is possible through digitalization. And I have some case examples how we want to approach this. Basically what we do in BASF is we show this chart to analysts. Because our investor relations, always have to present and position BASF, why would an investor buy BASF? And then we said, okay, we're pretty good in digitalization, realizing that potential, but the analysts never have much time. So they have up to 50, 60 chemical stocks they have to evaluate. So I asked him, so how do you do it? How do you pick these companies when it comes to digitalization? And then he said, digitalization. Let me think. So there's cost, you're doing the stuff cheaper, right? And I said, yeah, you're kind of right. And then he said, oh, there's also digital business models. I've heard about this. So he was not really a digitalization expert, but he gave me his fast thinking on what he associated with digitalization. Therefore, we created this and said, okay, this is simple because you can increase capacity. I have a case example for that. You can reduce your working capital by being smarter in real-time solutions. And on the left-hand side, you can produce innovation with more target, and you can create new revenue streams with digital business models. So I start with the digital business models. Now, BASF has 113,000 people worldwide, and they are all used to work together in very traditional ways. How do you get digitalization into their mode of working? We said we need a workshop format in which we put together 15 people, 10 of them are business experts in a special industry or in a special portfolio, and 5 have no clue. They might be from finance, they might be from other business units, they might be from procurement, but they join this effort. It's a 1.5 day format because I'm not a big fan of internal long meetings. So I said we need a precise, concise format. And it's a day and a half. The first half day, they meet in the afternoon and they generate ideas. What we realize in BASF is we are never short of ideas. Great. People get into this trance, and then they generate, and there's meta-plant walls filling up with life. But then they go to that day job again, and the ideas don't get executed. So we spent a full day after that to just create like a pitch, and we choose the idea that wins the most of our play money. So we use monopoly money, so people have to bet on the ideas, and they are not allowed to shoot at ideas, because we are great at shooting in terms of verbal, shooting in BASF. We can always tell the 10 reasons why things never work, why the idea is totally stupid, and why this is not gonna be liked by customers. So this is forbidden. It's not allowed to do this. But you're forced to find reasons why the idea is good, or how you can develop the idea even better. We call this an innovation and iteration process, so iterate, we trademark it. We have 2 customers who already are very interested in licensing this methodology, and it's basically, it's not an own invention, it's really, we stole some ideas from design thinking, we stole some ideas from St. Gallen, from the University of St. Gallen for the digital stimulus cards. So if you're interested, I can make some contact for you. In the meantime, 1,650 idea fragments were generated, and already in prototyping mode, 13 of them. So this process, after 3 months, already comes with a lo-fi prototype that is presented to customers. And people were a bit uncomfortable, because they said, how can I present to my customer an application that's not perfect? And then we said, we need to dare, we need to inspire people to go with something that is semi-finished, but take the customer feedback, go back, and then iterate. And that means go back and augment and improve the idea. 3 of them are right now already in launch in the marketplace. 1 in North America, 2 in Europe, in many different business areas. The remaining 10, plus what we generate this year, will also be tested and prototyped. I brought 1 example to you. And I think with Mr. Schies, we briefly spoke about platform ideas. This is a platform idea in which BASF is orchestrating basically one business platform. The platform is about the use of a byproduct that results from chemical production. We connect suppliers and users of this platform. The product comes with heterogeneous specifications, so it varies, not only in terms of the volumes, but also in terms of the qualities. We help to register and also run the analytics on that value stream, and then we match supply and demand. We generate from that new sales because we find new customers that are already part of this use, and we use our customer connections in order to build more sales on that. Partners, for example suppliers who join this platform, pay a platform usage fee, and that is a new revenue stream, also growth. And as we use this platform, we generate more insights, because we are tracking the value streams, we are tracking who's buying at which time, in which quality, and we detect new areas of use while we do this. And that's why this has become a model case for our digital business model activities. Second example, innovation and technology. How can you use digitalization in order to be faster and more efficient in your innovation processes? Typically, and I think you can probably relate, you have a process in which researchers get together, they get the requirements from their internal customers. For example, I need a catalyst that is more selective, and they go back, okay, more selective. They get to work, they test, they run mini plant trials, and then 18 months, 24 months later, they present a catalyst newly developed. In between, maybe some milestone meetings. That's typically how it goes. Customer maybe at that point says, okay, thank you, looks okay, but I don't need it anymore because I have a new supplier who gives me this in a fraction of your cost. Thank you. Boom, done. So, how can you now use digitalization? You start to look into the data around the catalyst performance, you tap into historical data bases, you integrate it onto the data integration layer that I showed earlier, what was the middle column of the Greek temple, and then you start to run simulations with people who are really great in math. So you need people who have experiences in statistics, mathematics, physics, and you let them calculate the models and run simulations on the catalyst performance. We were able to cut out close to 2,000 hours of time by just running these model calculations. What you need is a cloud, you need big data analytics, and you need the processing speed that does this for you. And then you identify those candidates way more quickly and get them into the mini plant for testing. That is a great gain in efficiency. The third example, still on the growth area, is supply chain. I used to do business indirectly with Chile as well in my time when I worked in this part of the world. Unfortunately not based in Chile, but dealing a lot. Who of you has experienced trouble with merchandise, with goods not being on time, being disrupted, and maybe off balance in terms of forecast accuracy? Please raise your hands. Thank you, Claudia. Yes. Some of you can share the pain. So, what we do is we have selected 50 strategic key accounts that we will lift onto a cloud. The cloud is provided by one of the big three I mentioned earlier. And what we do is we discuss with the customer that we feel is very important and has the same pain that we do, because there are disruptions, there are market cycles, and there are changes in dynamics in consumer behavior. And we said, let's put our planning modules onto the cloud and allow a set of people on your side and on our side to access the cloud and run a comparison in near to real-time speed where we are with our planning activities day by day. So rather than sending out an Excel spreadsheet, on the 18th or on the 20th calendar day, we now look into the system in a very dynamic way, and we can respond much more quickly. And that's why the module is called Rapid Response to Market Changes and Market Dynamics. And there are way less misunderstandings of he said, she said. That type of behavior is, in these cases, eliminated. Our launching pilot customer here was a fast-moving consumer goods company with a very high brand value, so they entered this, and in the meantime, they made it even public. It's 3M. They are using this as their method of choice, rolling it out across their plants. Last example I brought is from the area of operations and manufacturing. So that's kind of the right-hand side of the chart I showed earlier, so that's the efficiency part. So typically I would say BASF is pretty good at running their assets well. Not always, but I think in general it's an engineer and chemist-driven part of the company. So what happens is plants have the very unpopular property to sometimes shut down when they are not supposed to shut down. So what we do with the digitalization is we create models that help us understand why critical equipment pieces, like for example a quench cooler or a heat exchanger, why they fail and when they fail. So you probably have heard the name predictive maintenance before. It is one step beyond preventive maintenance. Preventive maintenance works on the basis of checklists that you run on a regular basis when you walk through the plant. Predictive is model-based, and it gives you an idea when a piece of equipment is likely to fail. So it gives you time, because you realize it early. Together with operators, we put in two critical thresholds. One is yellow, like a traffic light, and one is red. So here, In the quench cooler, the data flow, and that can be flow parameters, temperature, vibration, is showing a red signal because you're hitting an index that was identified by the operators as something you don't really want to hit. So what happens next? You can probably imagine it. It hits it again, so it doesn't calm down, and then goes into shutdown. And that's a period here, a period of pain. So the gray area that you see is basically cash loss to us. So next step, with the model, you achieve or you reach the threshold again, but this time you are smarter because you know, okay, wow, we learned from this event, we hit it here, and just a few weeks later, we went into total shutdown. So the model learns. The model learns now that once you hit it here, and you have a similar pattern in the data, it's very likely to do the same stuff again. So instead of letting that happen, you go in, you send your maintenance crew, they take the equipment down maybe for a day or two, perform the maintenance work. As a result, you don't have to shut down the machinery. And this block, here I'm talking about our cracker. It's a device that produces an EBIT of more than seven digits a day. So if this period here is converted into cash, it's amazing. The business case is there in a heartbeat. So that's predictive maintenance. What it takes is a team of data scientists, a lot of meticulous housekeeping on the data, because the data looks like crap when you first extract it from the sensors you have in the machine. So you have to rework the data, you have to cleanse it and make it available on the platform. You need a cloud, you need the big data analytics with speed and processing capabilities, and then you put the operators and the data scientists in one room, you lock them in, you let them, create and ferment this model, and then you test the model in different process groups. So right now we have this active in 6 different process groups in our cracker, and we are rolling this out to 10 other chemical plants worldwide as well. Some of you may have thought, well, the guy is talking away here, he wants to make us excited about digitalization, he forgets about security. You cannot forget about security for the reasons I mentioned before. I think the traditional way was to just build a firewall. It's like in medieval times, you build a castle, the thicker the walls, the better the protection. Today it doesn't work this way anymore. There are of course different threshold or threat levels, but once you're in this fortress, you can start to really do a lot of damage. So what we do today is we have developed what we call a resilience security. And it consists of different components. One of them is you have devices that are secured and end-to-end encryption, and you have experts that sit in our cyber defense center that look for anomalies. So they run their analytics, their diagnostics on anything that happens around us. What they also do is they team up with other companies and with institutions like the BSI, which is like the German authority for data security and safety. So we exchange know-how on an hourly basis. So what's happening on the outside? Because the most advanced persistent threats come from governments, from outside of Germany. I wouldn't say always Far East, but in many cases it's Far East. So what you also do is once a malware has found its way into your system, you let it develop in a controlled environment. So you fence it in, and you learn from the way it operates, and that makes you smarter, and you can build more security architecture around it. When it comes to cloud, again, I'm not getting any commission by the big three, but I can only recommend work together with professionals who really know their business. This is a video that I would like to share with you. We have not a single industry actor in there. It's really BASF employees. The gentleman who will speak His name is Rolf Windecker. I know him in person. It's also encouraging because he's not one of those digital natives. He will share his experiences a bit with digitalization in his plant, but we let him use the German language because I thought, when you translate that or you synchronize it, it loses some of the appeal. So I understand. There's no disrespect to the country of Chile and the Spanish language, but we work with captions, and I hope you enjoy the video.
Mein Name ist Rolf Windecker und das ist unsere Butadien-Anlage in Ludwigshafen. Wir sind insgesamt 69 Mitarbeiter, davon sind 56 auf der 4x12 Stunden Wechselschicht. Teil unserer täglichen Arbeiten sind Sicherheitskontrollgänge, um Unregelmäßigkeiten in der Anlage zu entdecken. Diese müssen wir dann manuell in Checklisten dokumentieren. Im Prinzip haben wir doppelte Dokumentation, weil wir die Checklist von der Außenrunde dann ins Reine schreiben. Für das Smart Manufacturing Projekt haben wir verschiedene Applikationen erstellt, die wir getestet haben und in naher Zukunft dann auch standardisieren. Wir werden unsere täglichen Rundgänge digital mit dem Tablet als Datei dokumentieren. Zusätzlich können wir alle unsere Prozessinformationen herunterladen und auf dem Tablet ansehen. Eine weitere App, die wir entwickelt haben, hilft uns beim Abstellen der Anlage. Es ist eine Checkliste zum Setzen und Ziehen von Steckscheiben. Durch Einscannen eines QR-Codes an einer definierten Stelle sind Verwechslungen nicht möglich. Durch ein Foto ist der aktuelle tatsächliche Zustand dokumentiert. Für die nächste Abstellung werden wir mit Sicherheit noch weitere Apps schreiben und sind davon überzeugt, dass diese Apps uns die Arbeit erleichtern werden. Wir sind gespannt, was die Zukunft mit Smart Manufacturing für uns und die BASF bringen wird.
BASF. We create chemistry.
You like it? Yeah? We picked a very crappy day, not on purpose. It was raining cats and dogs. And they said, okay, let's still do it. We wanted to get this done. So, again, no artificial acting, he's really using it. And what we had to do is create a solution that consists basically of a platform. The platform is created and generated by an external supplier, a professional third party. Then you create the connection with tablets around it. On the tablets, I don't have to explain that to you, in the chemical space, you have to look for X-proof devices. So we picked some tablets, we picked some of the smartphones, smaller format. We did not go with glasses at this point, because glasses did not come with the protection, with the mechanical protection that we needed at this point. It's only a question of, probably not even a year or two, when the glasses will get much better. Then you can operate hands-free. And you have to create apps. The apps will be partially programmed by our guys, but also get pre-installed, 3 different ones, by the supplier. And then you have to look into the plant specifics and say, okay, so how do we modify it, how do we adjust it to the plant needs? So, those were the use cases. I think now I come to a very important part, is the cultural shift inside the company. I heard the sentence, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Now that's a bit, I don't know, maybe it's a bit crude, but if you think about it, culture eats strategy for breakfast. I like it because when you switch the mindset of people, I think you can move along. And you can have a great strategy, but if the culture of the people doesn't support the strategy, it's a totally missed opportunity. If you have a lousy strategy, of course, that's also not cool. You have a lousy strategy and great implementation, you can ruin your company. Yeah? So don't get me wrong. You need the balance. But what we did is, first we needed to explain, and that started in September last year, we needed to explain, so guys, why do you have to think about digitalization? We give you movies, we give you some presentations, some graphics, to make you understand what is behind the whole thing. Then, what is going on? How can I contribute? So I start to feel, okay, in my area, I can have an impact with digitalization. How is that working? And we also put a lot of emphasis on educating and training our leaders. So we had 2-hour sessions in which leaders could really deep dive into the different use cases and learn from it. And what worked great with leaders is make them jealous of the success of others. So we presented the use cases in some areas, and then people said, wow. So BASF can do it, I will do the same thing and better. So they went back and created their own use cases. Practical skills is very important, and I think this is something that cannot be overemphasized. You need the right training. So it's tough to present IT experts, legacy IT people, and let them teach some of these applications. You need a different way how you do it. Maybe use some gamification, maybe use some collaboration in small teams, but you have to find people who can do it in a good way, didactically. And then last but not least, share what already has happened and has proven to be good. So what we did in order to support this is we created different, what we call infographics. So this was the first one. We worked a bit with cartoons. Cartoons are, it's important for BASF. We have a global workforce, so you see female individuals with a hard hat in production, you see different skin tones, and you see broken down in simple terms, 3% growth, 4% cost reduction potential, so create some appetite on the whole movement. And this is the overall one for BASF. You are not supposed to read it at this point, but invited to get into our homepage in basf.com, you find it there. This is a bit what digitalization changes in the big picture. And then you break it down to manufacturing, you break it down to innovation and technologies. We have one more for business models, and we have one more for smart IT and supply chain as well. So simple language, short sentences, and easy graphics. And this is our motive. We have a confidence of being in the right track. The path is digital. As you can see, it's rocky terrain. We're looking at the Andes here. So you need the right gear, you need good training, good condition to make it happen. And also here the team is very international, and it's a teamwork effort in the end. So this is concluding my session, and thanks very much for watching.
Wow. Está abierta al público preguntas, hay micrófonos, por favor se puede levantar la mano, de manera que se pueda traducir. Ahí hay una pregunta también.
I have a question. We saw these all digital innovations in logistics, in maintenance, but not in production. We also have, in chemical plants, you have many pipelines, so there's a problem with the network.
Yeah.
You have Wi-Fi, but Wi-Fi doesn't work well in plants. Then for home, you have Zigbee, Segway, but we're looking, for example, we have a PA plant with many thermocouples with your catalyst. So if we could give you our temperature profile, the pressures online, it would be very good. But the problem is that the technology is not there. It's still not there. We don't have these pressure sensors that we can broadcast through the cloud and then, I don't know, get some data.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's now some technology available to have all the sensors in an app, so we can share with you or share with our suppliers.
Yeah, good question, very good question. We have made similar experiences with some of our plants. First of all, the question on the wireless infrastructure, sometimes it's a mess, but you need the right triangulation to solve it. So you need a strong provider of your wireless infrastructure, and there you shouldn't save money, but there you really need to invest. That's important. So don't go for breaking the pennies, but really make a solid investment. But only go to those plants where you have a big financial impact. I would start with those first. They might be more complex, but they will actually enable you to capture the benefits. So go back into the plant and challenge the guys, because wireless network is functional. If somebody tells you it's not possible, hire a different person. The second point is sensors. There's a German company, starts with a B, who are very advanced in sensors. I would regard them as the leading guys in that space. I've not seen limitations coming from sensors. They range between $60 a piece, and then in special areas, they can go up to 4-digit numbers. But make sure to get the experts from that company. And again, I'm not getting permission, but maybe you choose also a different one. But get the experts right and have them pick the right amount of sensors. The third question is processing speed. I would suggest to think about an edge computing solution because you need high speed, you need a cloud, and for those types of data volumes, you definitely probably should think about an edge solution there. And again, go with suppliers who can scale it and who are really capable of doing things like that.
What about the DLC? The DLC is going to be over in some time, the app. So is there any app that replaces those old DLC, very expensive DLC?
Yeah, that's a question
from last century.
That's a question that scares the hell out of GE and Siemens. But right now, to be honest, I would, and the others, right now, I would say many of our plants, we have two ways. One, when we talk about brownfield, so existing infrastructure, sometimes we have very aged systems in place. The augmented reality solution is outside of the OT. So you need the right certification to then transmit the cloud-based innovation, the augmented reality stuff, into the OT environment. But they're separates, definitely. The future of the PLC, or what comes after that, that is something that we developed with some of the key suppliers, but to me that is still a bit more futuristic, let me put it this way. Because I first want to get, we have 1,000 plants worldwide, 420 qualified for what Wolf showed us, and that's a heck of a job. And I cannot go in with investment like that and replace PLCs right away. That's impossible. It's possible, but then we're broke. Yeah.
¿Otra pregunta? Angélica. Bueno, espera el micrófono para que se pueda traducir.
Well, thank you for an excellent presentation. Questions around people. So, are you foreseeing a big change on the competences that you need in your team in general, not just on the experts? And the second on people also, do you see a big change on numbers of people needed to run your operations?
Very good question. I try not to answer too long because it's such a great, it's like in tennis, it's a good volley. First answer is yes, there will be a lot of change coming to us in terms of what type of qualifications we need. Recommendation would be start in small teams and maybe make a bit of a competition, friendly competition, and have teams develop apps. I would say gamification is a good way to lose some of the distance to the topic. So some companies do that. They have done it. They form small teams, 10, 15 teams. They get basic instructions on how to run things, and then they do it. I received a set from the Deutsche Telekom. And probably the competition of Deutsche Telekom here in Chile also has that. It's a little kit, and it's basically consisting of 5 different things: a few sensors, contact points, and a little puck looking central device. And they call it predictive maintenance at home. So you can use it in your wine fridge, for example, see how often the wine fridge is opened and closed. and then you relate it to the temperature readings, and you build your own little device to just build a model. So try to enrich the topic by making some of the required skills more tangible. The second point, I think, is learning by doing is important, I believe. So many people come to us and say, wow, we don't feel ready for this thing. And then I say, okay, you're a good company, many people don't feel ready. The Americans up north are a bit more bullish. I had a study that my wife showed me as well. 8% of the Americans feel poorly prepared. In Germany, that's more than 16%. So it's a cultural thing. As Germans, we have a culture of, wow, I need to read, I need to be academic about this. So maybe you take some of the edge off by just starting projects and let people work together a bit, and then you throw in some key experts that help them build up their skills. The second part of your question is about the number of people affected. To be very brutal, I would say, as a general trend, anything that can be digitalized will sooner or later be digitalized. There's no way of stopping it. So if you have stupid routine operations where controllers put in their monthly report numbers, and they put it from 3 different systems, and it ends up in a beautifully consolidated Excel spreadsheet, that's stupid routine work. I guarantee you that will be digitalized and in better ways, because it will learn from things that happened in the past. So bad news is, I think, for people who are not willing to unlearn what they are doing right now and relearn, they will be a bit more lost. In terms of the impact, BASF in Germany has very strong worker council forces, so the unions are very strong. So we sit together every 8 weeks. We have discussions about what is coming at us with the digitalization, and we are avoiding the numbers game totally. I basically tell them up front, I will not be able to give you specific numbers, how many people will be laid off at what point in time. What I am discussing with them is demographic change. So people leaving the company just for reasons of retirement. Do we need to replace every position? Or will there be a smart way to get it done with soft robotics or algorithms that can do a better job? And that's a cool thing, that's my last comment, sorry, long answer. The digitalization offers ways to store the knowledge that experienced workers have in a beautiful way. So think of Rolf, pen and paper is still the #1 communication tool in the plant when it comes to really the nuts and bolts. If you manage to get that experience stored and archived on the app, it doesn't get lost anymore. Then you have a nice synthesis of young people, digital natives coming in with great IT skills, and you combine them with experience skills from older people.
¿Otra pregunta?
First of all, thank you very much for your presentation. The second, my question is, when you talk about digital transformation, for sure immediately you create big expectations. And when you go with your CEO and you say, hey, we need investment on that, the finance guy look you like you're crazy. So, which was your experience at the beginning of this project?
Are you with BASF as well?
No.
Yeah, because the comment is a very valid one, and I've heard it. So, we cut it 2 ways. I will be quite open in this circle. In the first year of 2015, when we started incubation, 100% of the money was from what we call XY. And XY is a way of accounting for money that is not directly touching the P&L of an operating division. So we have 13 verticals in BASF. They are all profit centers, and they run their P&Ls, and they're the only guys who basically make money in the company. Sometimes they lose, but sometimes typically they gain. Okay, so that was the first year to just get the whole thing started, because we couldn't say operating division A, B, or C you are the front runner already, so you pay the cost for what we do in experiments. They would have sent us home. So that was fully funded corporate way. Second year, 50% of the budget was from corporate, the other 50% was from operating divisions, because then we already started with projects that also return some of the money we invest. So for example, by avoiding shutdown, by avoiding investment in buffer inventory capacity, and by creating the first moments where customer was not going into a disruption, those were first business cases we had replicated. So that was then something where we said, okay guys, we need to allocate some of the money to you as well. This year is now the third year. I do two things. One, I share with all the divisions and functional units the business cases. So information is key. And two, we call and we email ahead of time before we charge. So transparency is key. They don't like surprises. There are two projects where the operating divisions have no choice. So that's a bit brute force. I said basically you have to do it and you will get the costs allocated, sorry. If not, BASF will not move ahead. And with the others I have to convince the business units, and some of them are very stubborn, to be honest. But now I've switched a bit, so I'm not going to the stubborn ones so much anymore. I'm concentrating more on the guys who actually pull, because eventually successes come from the pull units, and then the others see that and they might switch their mind. But some people you cannot change. It's a bit frustrating sometimes. They're just too hardcore, heavy-headed. Okay. The money is below 3-digit million for the entirety of BASF Group. When you talk to controllers, because that's the next point, then I'm done with this answer, which is also too long, sorry. The business case. So controllers have to learn that a digital business model like that does not come with a built-in NPV from the start. It doesn't work this way. It is tough to quantify a revenue stream from licensees. It's very tough to generate exact financial numbers, how much a certain software application will take to be developed, and when the benefits will kick in. And if you remember, some of the great innovations, even based on digitalization, took up to 6 or 7 years, and they were not ready from the get-go. They had to be refined and iterated over a longer period of time. So we need some patience here as well.
Thank you.
¿Si hay alguna otra pregunta?
Everybody's looking forward to that.
Con una presentación muy clara. Thank you, Fritjof.
Thank you very much.
Very interesting. Bueno, muchas gracias a todos. Esta presentación fue grabada. Vamos a hacer un proceso de un data mining para poder después subirla a nuestra web y que esté también disponible para la gente que no puede venir, sobre todo las comunidades regionales de Química. Muchas gracias por su asistencia, agradecer también a BASF por toda la colaboración y nos vemos en otro evento de Muchas gracias.